Alright guys, so the next thing I gotta do, I gotta pull this battery tray out. There's a couple screws in the bottom holding this in, pull that out, and then I can start measuring for my amp racks. Let's go ahead and pull this out, and then I'll start taking measurements and figure out the angles I need to cut, and we'll go from there and start fabricating the amp rack. Alright guys, so use my little square here. I've got some angle marks, and the idea is the amp's going to be about a 60-degree angle. I should have about 1.5 inches away from hitting the window with the amp all the way at the top. The idea is I have 1x1 square tubing. I'm going to make a frame, square frame, and I'll add a gusset in the middle, maybe a gusset across, and I'll have mount points. So I'll add another piece of 3/4 inch MDF on the back of this, and then I'll have threaded inserts that I'll put so that my amp rack can bolt to that, and then I'll have legs that come out, and I'll have threaded inserts that the amp will mount to the legs of the amp rack. Everything will be secure. That's my idea, and I guess the next step is we'll start measuring out the amps and go cut some metal on the bandsaw. Alright guys, I got my pieces cut out. Basically I'm going to build a frame with 2 sections in it, and then I have these pieces that the amps are going to mount to. So the amps are 12 inches wide, these are about 12 1/8. They're going to stand off from this frame at 30 degrees, and then I made a 60-degree cut on the bottom just to make it look smooth, so there's not 1x1 tubing just, you know, sticking out the front. and then I'll drill holes and I'll put threaded inserts in here to hold the amps down securely. I'm gonna go ahead and start tacking all this together. Once I get this together, I gotta move to the plasma. I'm gonna make some gussets that go underneath here just to give it a little more strength because those amps are heavy. I also have to cut some 1x1 squares with a 1/4-inch hole for mounting feet. So go ahead and I'll square this up, tack it up, and get this done. Alright, so I got most of the frame tacked together. I welded the back side and then I tacked it to the table. Hopefully that's going to keep the frame from warping, and I need to let it cool down. So I'm going to move to the plasma, start cutting out some pieces I need to finish this while this cools down. Once I cut those out, I can come back to this, keep welding, and I'll have to do it in steps. So I may finish on the plasma, come back to this, and then start assembling headway cells and balancing them. So I'm going to be jumping back and forth, but I'll keep a time lapse of it so you see kind of what I'm working on. Alright guys, took a break from welding up the amp rack, and I'm gonna take these headway cells. I'm gonna use my bus bars to balance the cells before I make the bank. So you'll have 2 pieces of aluminum, and essentially what you're gonna do is you take your cells, you take the screws out, and you're gonna connect all your negatives together. Connect all your positives together. And what that's going to do is it's going to balance the voltage between all the cells. So if you have one cell that's 3.3 volts and another cell that's 3.0 or 3.1, essentially if you connect all your positives and all your negatives, make sure you do not connect the positive to negative because you'll short it out. Essentially you're going to balance the voltage in the cells, so that way when you connect them in series and you charge the bank as a whole, all these cells should charge at the same rate. Because if you had a cell that was 3.0 and another cell that was 3.3 and you went to charge it, one of them would go past your set point, I believe. So go ahead and we'll connect all these cells together and get them balanced out. Alright guys, finally got all the bus bars on the headway cells. You can see you just tie all your positives, tie all your negatives together, and essentially let them sit overnight. Ideally it would be 24 hours so that all the cells equalize, and then you can assemble your bank and charge it from there. So that's it for today. It's getting late. I got a bowl tonight, so I will check you guys tomorrow.